that Brazil was like, Sony, you big piece of trash. And they were investigating Sony and looking into this whole issue with them not printing discs anymore. So in my comment
Wow.
section, I
Yeah.
noticed that many of you were like, yo,
Legally,
Europe
they
too,
can't force
Europe
them.
too.
Yeah.
Europe ain't
Yep.
the only ones that's fighting Sony on this. I mean, Brazil isn't the only one fighting Brazil on this. Well, apparently the EU is shutting that down. Says over here, and there were like just like 4 or 5 articles I saw when I went looking for this. So it came up in my feed. I was like, what? A bunch of different ones, but Kotaku was the first. And it says the EU can't force Sony to keep making physical games, says Consumer Rights Commissioner. The European Union won't stop the all digital future that video game fans are facing. Let's see what this has to say. If you were hopeful, yes, we were, that the European Union would provide a barrier to Sony's decision to stop manufacturing new PlayStation physical games starting in 2028, I've got bad news. I've got some bad news for you. They're being bad news Barrett right now. I'll tell you this. I haven't finished reading this yet. They can affect the laws of ownership, though, because a lot of people are talking about that. It's been being brought more and more to the forefront. It's like, okay, even with the discs, you don't own them. However, what you should be fighting for is your digital ownership rights, which is absolutely true. So that's being brought up more and more, and it will probably be at the forefront of this sooner or later. You know what I mean? However, their get out of jail free card from the backlash would be to, continue to make discs. Huh? Oh my God. Backlash! All right?
Okay.
An EU commissioner claimed that companies are free to offer games however they want, assuming they don't break the law in the process.
Right. Yeah. Understandable.
People would claim that they're breaking the law right now with how they do business, but I digress. Let's keep reading here. Earlier this month, Sony announced that it will no longer print physical Blu-ray discs for new video games released in 2028 and after. While physical PlayStation games will still linger around for years to come, it's clear that Sony is moving on and entering a new all-digital future. I don't want your future! No matter how much fans or celebrities yell at them. That's funny that came after I just did that. See, here's how I am, if you haven't figured this out. I became popular. I blew up because of my reactions. So I go into things fresh. I don't read articles and then come to tell you about what I read. No, you get my reaction as I'm reading, just like you get my reaction as I'm watching a trailer or whatever else it is. I don't watch them beforehand. You get it fresh and you get it real. So you always get my real reaction on stuff. Let's see here. No matter how, where's that at? Physical pleasure, moving on. They yell at them. However, some fans were hopeful that the European Union, which has in the past been able to force companies like Apple to stop doing dumb-ish globally, would be able to step in and stop Sony from making the shift to all digital gaming, according to Michael McGrath, the EU Commissioner for Democracy, Justice, and Rule of Law. I was trying to think where I got that from Star Wars. For democracy! And consumer protection. Don't count on it. As reported earlier this week by Irish Mirror, McGrath was talking. Did you know I'm part Irish? Yeah, by the way, fighting Irish. That's right.
Okay.
McGrath
Didn't know
was
that.
talking to reporters in Strasbourg, European Parliament, and was seemingly asked about Sony's plans to end disc production. His answer was that the EU really has no power to stop them. Quote, it does come down to commercial and contractual freedoms, said McGrath, and companies are free to offer games and services in the manner that they see fit, provided that the consumer rights are fully protected in line with natural and EU law. Well,
Right. 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 So, um, I'm not gonna say this is common sense because not all of us are aware of all the intricacies of the law. So there was a possibility, I guess, that this could work as far as getting Sony to make physical games legally. But the way I figured it, even though again I'm not a lawyer, I don't know the law, you know, at an expert level, but logically, I figured that there was no way for the system to force, or the judicial system to force Sony to make physical games, like through some type of, I guess, legal mandate or some type of consumer or civilian right. There's no way to say like, they violated our access to an actual physical product. So therefore they're breaking the law and therefore, you know, we can use the system to make physical games. You know, I kind of figured that that was a huge long shot. Um, Now we can see from this article that as as I came to a conclusion to a long time ago, um, there's no way for the courts to just get them to do that. Maybe there's another way. Maybe there's a way that we haven't seen just yet. But this method failed, and yeah, we'll see what happens next. Maybe someone will find another option, but right now, um, it's not looking good as far as forcing Sony to make physical games.
that the consumer rights are fully protected in line with natural and EU law. Well, consumer rights, you could argue that they're not really protected because once they purchase something, they don't really own it. You could
True.
probably, there's probably an argument somewhere for that. Even when you do purchase, you're, I guess you could say, agreeing to that type of contract with them, but there's probably some wiggle room in there with that. You might see that pop up later. McGrath also mentioned the EU's response to the Stop Killing Games movement last month. The EU Commission said it can't create laws or regulations to ensure game publishers must keep servers up or offer ways to play games after their online services are terminated. Instead, the Commission said it would work with the game industry and others to create a code of conduct for video game preservation. It almost sounds like the same thing. In any case, for the time being, it seems like Sony's plan to stop making physical games and go all digital is still moving forward. I know gamers are like, yeah, we'll see about that. It's like if stopped on one front, gamers are going to keep moving forward on other fronts. So
Yeah.
we're just going to have to see how this all starts to pan out. This is one person talking about it, and he may be absolutely right. He's right in the thick of it. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And I'll keep reporting and letting you know how this fight is going and what's going on in this whole situation with Sony. Post your comments down below. Let me know what you all think about it. If you enjoyed my reaction and thoughts and commentary, hit the like button. Subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed, by the way, because people
Uh,
get unsubscribed all the time.
yeah, definitely go subscribe to them guys. Um, this is some people are gonna find this heartbreaking, but I saw this coming. Um, if there was some hidden law that said that Sony couldn't do this, they wouldn't have done it. I'm pretty sure Sony has access to some of the best lawyers and legal representatives on the planet. So they probably were researching this decision for quite some time. They probably made the decision to end physical gaming back in like 2023, 2022, but they're just announcing it now. So they've been going through every possible legal avenue for years, years and years and years. So the fact that they attempted this, oh, excuse me, I'm not sure that showed up on the recording. But yeah, the fact that they intended to do this is understandable. It was probably inevitable, but Sony was prepared. They knew that they had the legal right to do this. So yeah, yeah, we just have to see what happens next. Maybe someone again. I'm not trying to like lead a war against Sony at all. I love the company. Um, again, a version of the company that I love a version of the company. That's why I say I don't love the company. I love a version of the company. And obviously, based on the decision making, you know, that version is becoming a thing of the past. So maybe it can get back to that. Maybe not. We'll see what happens. But yeah, let me know in the comment section what you guys think. Keep it civil. Keep it civil. Um, I've been on Ad Clear. You guys have been amazing, and I'll see you guys in the next one. All right. Peace.